Many times, people compare a cell to a factory. This is because individual organelles within the cell act together to perform certain functions that are necessary to the organism's survival. Today, we'll be looking at a plant cell and its organelles in detail. Moreover, we'll identify their specific functions and see how these are crucial to the plant's survival. First, let's take a look at an overall picture of a plant cell. There's the nucleus, where there's a nuclear envelope, nucleolus, and chromatin. There's the rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, cytoskeleton that can be microfilaments, intermediate filaments, or microtubules. There's a central vacuole, the chloroplast, the plasmodesmata, peroxisomes, cell wall, plasma membrane, mitochondrion, Golgi apparatus, and lastly, the cytoplasm. By just looking at this diagram, you probably noticed some major differences with the animal cell, such as the chloroplast, the central vacuole, the cell wall, and plasmodesmata. Now let's examine each of these organelles more closely. Nucleus can be considered as the control center of the cell. As the biggest organelle of the cell, nucleus consists of most of the cell's genetic information. This genetic information directs protein synthesis by forming mRNA. Nucleus can be roughly divided into three parts: the nuclear envelope, nucleolus, and chromatin. To roughly explain, nuclear envelope is a double membrane enclosure that separates the nucleus from its surroundings. Nucleolus, on the other hand, is the center area of the nucleus that appears to be darker than the others. This is the site where the ribosomal RNA, a type of RNA, is made as well. Other than the assembly of rRNA, nucleus also has other functions such as the regulation of cellular processes such as cell division. Lastly, chromatin is a long strand of DNA wrapped around histones. Because the nucleus provides directions for protein synthesis, nucleus is extremely crucial to cell survival, just like the control center of the factory. Ribosomes are the actual protein factories of the cell. They transcribe mRNA that is synthesized in the nucleus into proteins. There are two types of ribosomes: bound ribosomes and free ribosomes. Both of these ribosomes are identical structurally, but their roles differ. The bound ribosomes are ribosomes bound to the endoplasmic reticulum or the nuclear envelope. These ribosomes usually form membrane proteins or secretory proteins. Membrane proteins are proteins that become inserted to the cell membrane, whereas the secretory proteins are ought to leave the cell. Contrastingly, free ribosomes that float around the cytosol have different functions. One of these functions is catalyzing the steps of sugar breakdown by acting as an enzyme. Several organelles of the plant cell belong to a special network called the endomembrane system. This system includes organelles such as the nuclear envelope, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, vacuole, and the plasma membrane. Endoplasmic reticulum is a network of a membrane that accounts for more than half the total membrane in eukaryotic cells. Endoplasmic reticulum also has two major types, rough and the smooth. Smooth ER is the endoplasmic reticulum without ribosome in its surface, thus smooth, and the rough ER is one with a ribosome attached to its surface. But the existence of ribosome in its surface isn't their only difference. They also differ in function. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum is involved in multiple metabolic processes such as synthesis of proteins, metabolism of carbohydrates, and detoxification of drugs and poisons. Rough endoplasmic reticulum, on the other hand, is heavily involved in protein synthesis since ribosomes are attached to it. Not only it is a site where membrane proteins and secretory proteins are made, rough ER modifies these proteins as well, allowing proteins to fold into a proper structure and adding sugar groups to protein chains. After these modifications, the rough ER packages these proteins into transport vesicles and sends them to different compartments. One of the sites where transport vesicles from the rough VR arrive is the Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus is considered as the post office of the cell. Proteins that reach Golgi apparatus is further modified, sorted according to final destinations, and packaged into new transport vesicles, and finally sent to different parts of the cell. More specifically, they get modified and packaged in the cis part of the Golgi apparatus and transported in the transphase. After leaving the Golgi apparatus, proteins have several possible destinations such as secretion out of the cell. One major difference between an animal cell and a plant cell is that a plant cell has a central vacuole compared to an animal cell that has small vacuoles. These vacuoles, with vast size, play a crucial role in plants' life. The first role of a vacuole is to hold reserves of crucial organic compounds such as proteins. Vacuoles are also storage for inorganic ions such as potassium. Many cells will dispose of metabolic byproducts that may harm the cell if it accumulates in the cytosol in the vacuole. And moreover, vacuoles also help protect plants against predators by containing poisonous substances. But most importantly, central vacuole contributes to the plant's growth by enabling a cell to grow larger by absorbing vast amounts of water. Plasma membrane, by no doubt, is one of the most interesting organelles, but yet one of the most important. This is because this selectively permeable membrane separates a cell from its surroundings. To talk about the structure, plasma membrane consists of lipids and proteins which contribute vastly to the plasma membrane's function. To start off, the plasma membrane is a bilayer of phospholipids. These phospholipids are empathetic because it has an hydrophobic and hydrophilic nature. Let's take a look at this diagram. We can see that there is a bilayer of phospholipids. We notice that the hydrophobic tails are facing inward of the cell, whereas the hydrophilic heads are facing outward where water is existent. This empathetic nature allows selective permeability of the cell membrane, letting certain molecules in while not allowing others. The protein part of the cell membrane also plays a crucial role. Its function varies from recognition of external substances to transport of materials in and out of the cell. Other than the cell membrane, plant cells also have an extracellular structure called the cell wall that protects plant cells and helps to maintain its shape. Cell wall is especially important when a plant cell is put in a hypotonic environment. By having a cell wall, plant cell can maintain its shape and prevent from bursting. Plasmodesmata is another organelle that relates to cell wall. Plasmodesmata connects cell walls of plant cells, allowing the flowing of cytosol and chemical environment. Through this channel, small solutes, certain proteins, and RNA molecules can pass through. Chloroplast, as a member of Plastis, is also one of the exclusive organelles only plant cells consist. Differently from animal cells, where energy solely comes from the mitochondria, plant cells' energy vastly comes from the chloroplast. Chloroplast consists of compartments such as thylakoid, granum, ribosomes, stroma, and two membranes. Through these compartments, photosynthesis happens where light energy is converted into chemical energy. Mitochondria is another power source of the cell. It consists of structures such as the two membranes, cristae, matrix, and free ribosomes. What good would all of these organelles be if there wasn't a network of fibers that organize structures and activities within the cell? Thankfully, plant cells have this network, and their name is called cytoskeleton. Depending on the thickness, they vary in names. The three types are microfilaments, intermediate filaments, and microtubules. Even though these cytoskeletons each have specific functions, their functions are mostly around three key words: support, motility, and regulation. Support signifies the mechanical support cytoskeleton provides for the cell to maintain its shape. Motility refers to the movement of the cells through compartments such as the motor proteins or cilia. Lastly, regulation refers to the control of chemical activities. Last but not least, there's an organelle called peroxisomes. These organelles are metabolic compartments bounded by a single membrane. These organelles contain enzymes that transfer hydrogen to water, producing hydrogen peroxide. Peroxisomes also contribute to the process of conversion of fatty acids to sugar. Even though there are many organelles that make up a cell, each of these organelles are necessary for the cell's survival, thus the plant's survival. Because of these specific organelles, now we can see green trees outside, beautiful flowers, and we can eat our delicious vegetables.